So the suicide sequel Shiur. Usually you can't do suicide twice, but you can do a Shiur twice about suicide. The truth is, it reminds me of there's a famous question on the Rambam. The Rambam writes, a regular murderer is chayiv mitzvah adam, but then he lists a couple of people who are not chayiv mitzvah adam, only mitzvah shemaim. He says one is the person who hires a hitman. Two is a person who constrains someone in a place, and because of that, a lion came and ate the person that was constrained. 3 years, he says, someone who kills himself. So it says Rambam, on all of these three, basically, someone who sends an agent, a hitman, someone who indirectly killed someone, someone who killed himself, he's chayav mitzvah shemayim, ve'ein behem mitzvah bezdin, and don't think that Bedin should kill. That Bedin is going to kill you. They chayav mitzvah adam. So everyone asks, okay, I understand if you send the hitman, I would think the sender, the Mishalech, maybe Chaim Misa. No, better to kill him. I understand someone who kills someone. Very good. I know someone who kills someone indirectly. I would think he's Chaim Misa b'dei Adam. No, only Misa b'dei Shemayim. But what I got to tell you that someone commits suicide is not Chaim Misa b'dei Adam. It's too late. The guy's dead. You know how could we Misa b'dei Adam on someone who's been killed?
They survive.
Right? Wait a minute. The simple answer is you're right. When the Rambam says that Yechayev mitzvah shemayim and not mitzvah adam, he's going on the other two of the list. He's not talking about the third one on the list. That's talking about suicide. But over the ages, people have tried to answer this Rambam. Why do you need to say? Why do you need to say that a guy commits suicide is not Chaim mitzvah adam? So one answer is, which is not a good answer at all, what he tried to answer, what God tried to answer. I would think a person who tried to commit suicide, but he was not successful. So I would think a person who tried to commit suicide and was not successful, well, maybe Bezin will call him into court and say, hey, you know what? Now you're Chaim mitzvah b'dei adam. We're going to kill you now because you tried to commit suicide. But that really doesn't make any sense because, let's say someone attempts the murder. We kill someone who attempts the murder? No. No matter if someone tries to kill someone 500 times but is not successful, the murderer is not called a murderer. It's not Chayiv Misa. So why would I think that attempted suicide should be Chayiv Misa b'dei Adam? Yeah, okay, that's a special din. But if by a classic murderer, we don't kill him unless he's successful, why in the world would I think that a attempted murderer, an attempted suicide is Chayiv Mitzvah b'dei Adam?
You get killed.
Another answer is by Tchias HaMesim. Right? A guy commits suicide, and sure enough, the Tchias HaMesim. So the Bezdin calls them and says, Mazel Tov, they've been resuscitated, you've been resurrected, but you're Chayiv Mitzvah b'dei Adam now. Because you killed yourself. 100 years ago you killed yourself. Now there was Tchias HaMesim. So now we're going to have to kill you because you're Chayiv Mitzvah b'dei Adam. That's what the Rambam wants to say. Now, first of all, there's a little problem with that. First of all, if he was resurrected, so maybe that sort of undone the suicide. And second of all, that's what's going to happen when there's Tchias HaMesim. All the people who get up, they're going to get. Oh, by the way, got to come to court now. You were Michal Shabbos, and the last time Chayiv Misa. It doesn't seem right that after Tchias HaMesim, we're going to kill them for a various they did in a previous life, right? So we're hoping after Tchias HaMesim we get a clean sheet. So the best answer is the Minchas Chinuch's answer. Who's the Minchas Chinuch? My Zayda. And Zayda actually asked the question, and he gives a great answer. He says, the reason why the Rambam has to say it's not Chayiv Mitzvah b'dei Adam let's say a guy, we know there's a special din called Kamalei B'Rabbinai. What's the din Kamalei B'Rabbinai?
You give the harshest punishment.
You give the most harsh punishment. So if someone murders someone, and the same time as he's murdering someone, he's ripping someone else's shirt, we know that he does not have to pay for the shirt, and the estate doesn't have to pay for the shirt. That's the same as din of Kamalei B'Rabbinai. You give him the biggest punishment. So what's the din? Someone jumps off the Empire State Building, and on the way down, he starts breaking some windows. So seemingly, if he was chayiv misa b'dei adam, what would be the din? He wouldn't have to pay for windows. I know he's dead anyway, but his estate wouldn't have to pay for the windows, because that's the law. Whenever you do an egregious act that is chayiv misa b'dei adam, and simultaneously you cause someone monetary damage, we know that the law is Kamalei B'Rabbinai. So that's what the Rambam has said. Rambam say that someone commits suicide and he breaks something on the way down, don't think it's chayiv misa b'dei adam, and there would be a din of Kamalei B'Rabbinai. There is no din Kamalei B'Rabbinai. And not only is he dead, he also, from his estate, has to pay for the damage that he did. This is the answer from the Minchas Chinuch. Okay, be it as it may. The question that we want to deal with today is, we know that Shaul, we spoke about this last week, that Shaul killed himself. That we know. That Shaul heroically went on Hal Gilboa, and he fought, and he got surrounded by archers, by the enemy, and he asked his arms bearer to kill him. His arms bearer was afraid, and at the end, Shaul fell on his own sword. So last week, we tried to figure out, is Shaul right? Was he wrong? So we saw different views. Some say Shaul was wrong. Some say Shaul was right, because he's going to have to undergo torture, and you're allowed to kill somebody who has to undergo torture. Again, we said it clearly, being terminally ill is not and in a lot of pain is not the same thing as torture. We said he was a king, it would be a Bichel Hashem. We gave different reasons. So either it was wrong, or he had a special heter, had a special dispensation. We said that the Mashal said that he killed himself because if he didn't kill himself, there would be a futile effort by Klal Yisrael to try to save him, and many other thousands of Jews would be killed.
He had a bad day.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
So what is the bottom line? So it wasn't clear. Was Shaul wrong or right? Seemingly, we have a contradiction in the Navi, whether Shaul was wrong or right. In one place, we know that 30 years into David HaMelech's reign here meaning ruling, right? The Gemara brings down a famous Gemara. There was a famine in the times of David HaMelech for 3 years. And David HaMelech was trying to figure out why was there a famine. He thought maybe because they were Avodah Zarah in Klal Yisrael. So for a whole year he researched. No one was doing Avodah Zarah. He thought in the second year maybe people were acting immoral. So he did research. He saw no one's acting immoral. The third year, he thought maybe people weren't giving us tzedakah. No, that wasn't it either. He researched and giving tzedakah. So at the end, David was at loss to try to figure out why was God putting a famine for 3 years. So what did he do? He asked God. He went to the Ur Tumim. And the Rabbi Shalom came out with the most amazing reason. He says,
I was at a question you asked the Ur Tumim. Usually they only answer like yes or no questions.
Well, I don't know. David was able to ask the Ur Tumim, and Hashem said there are two reasons why this famine is happening. One is on Shaul. What's on Shaul? Shaul's been dead for already 30 years, right? On Shaul, what about Shaul? That he was not eulogized properly. Shaloi nisbak halacha. As Rabbi said, there wasn't a big enough eulogy for Shaul. There should have been a bigger funeral. It should have been a bigger, there should have been more solemnity. There should have been a bigger, I wouldn't say celebration, but a bigger funeral to memorialize Shaul. Okay? Another reason, Al Shehem is a Gevanim, because you killed the Gevanim. Because Shaul killed the Gevanim. The Gemara says, who are Gevanim? Those were Gentiles who were basically living in Eretz Yisrael, but they were basically working for the Jews. Right? So the Gemara says Shaul killed the Gevanim. Where did Shaul kill the Gevanim? So the Gemara says, well, we all know the famous story. What was the famous story of Shaul and the Nov Ir Kahanim? Right? We know that Shaul had it in for David. Right? Who was David? Shaul's son-in-law. Right? But for whatever reasons, Shaul wanted David killed. Right? Sounds like a great father-in-law, son-in-law relationship. And the whole Shmuel Aleph is Shaul chasing David. Shaul is chasing David. And David had opportunities to kill Shaul. He didn't do it. And the reason why Shaul wanted to kill David, he felt that David will be taking over his kingdom, which was actually correct. Right? Now, we're not going to sit now and judge Shaul. He was a tzaddik Tzaddik, right, wrong. It was what it was. Bottom line is, at one point, Shaul was trying to find out where David was. And he was asking all his constituents, everyone in the country, help me out. It worked out that what happened was David was hiding by a city called Nov, Ir Kahanim. Now, he went to Ir Kahanim, the Kohen of Nov, of Yosef's father, I forgot his name, gave him food and gave him actually a sword, the sword that Goliath's sword, and he went on his way. Now, here's the thing. They did not know that David was, at that point, they did not know that David was being pursued by Shaul. You have to remember, David was a top general in Shaul's army. So the Kahanim of Nov had no idea that Shaul was chasing David. They had no idea. They asked David, hey, how come you're here alone? They asked him, hey, David, what are you doing here alone? But David said, I'm on a secret mission, so I couldn't come with my whole army. At the end of the day, Nov totally innocently helped David. Now, it happened was there was a fellow there named Doeg Doimi. If you ever say Tehillim, he comes up. And Doeg told Shaul, oh, look what Nov did. Look what the Nov Ir Kahanim did. And sure enough, Shaul calls over the Kahanim from Nov. Says, what did you do? Why did you give David food? Why did you give him harbor? So the Kahanim of Nov said, what do you mean? He's your son-in-law. What's your problem? He's the general in the army. What are you talking about? And Shaul said, no, you're lying. You knew that I was pursuing him. You knew he was a renegade. You knew he was a turncoat. And therefore, Shaul said, kill all the Kahanim. The whole city. There were two generals there, Avner and Amsa, wouldn't do it because they knew Shaul was wrong. So Shaul said, Doeg Adami, you do it. And he did it. Killed out the whole city. Killed out the whole city. Hundreds of people. 80 Kahanim, but children, killed them all out. And this is a terrible sin. Now, so Shaul got killed. But there was a collateral damage. Besides the fact that Nov, all the Kahanim got killed, these Gevanim lost their job. Because the Gevanim sort of worked for the Kahanim. They were the ones who cut the wood. They were the ones who, the water carriers. So the Gevanim lost their parnasa. And God said they never got reparations. They never got paid for their loss. So 30 years later, the Rebbeinu Shalom put a famine for two reasons. And they're contradictory reasons. One is because Shaul wasn't eulogized enough. Another reason is because what Shaul did wrong. Because Shaul killed the Gevanim, didn't kill the Gevanim, it's as if he killed the Gevanim, because he took away their livelihood. And the Gemara asked, I don't understand, what are the famine for? Because Shaul's a good guy or a bad guy? And the Gemara says here that when God punishes someone, he also tries to show a good side of him. And this is a famous Sichas Musar, that whenever you berate someone or punish someone, make sure you temper it by saying something good about him. That's what's happening over here. There's a famine. Why? One, Shaul did something terribly wrong. He killed the Nov, Ir Kahanim, and that led to not having sustenance for the Gevanim. And two, there's a famine because Shaul was a big tzaddik and he didn't get eulogized enough. He didn't get eulogized enough, right? If you read the story by Shaul, it seems that he got a little bit, he was affected. He sort of had he was mentally affected a little bit. He sort of like lost it a little bit. So it's not clear how much he's to blame for what happened that he was chasing David. Be as it may. Again, Reb Chaim Shmulevitz uses this a lot to show whenever you berate someone, knock someone down, make sure you say something good about him also. Okay, be as it may, what was the end of the story? David, the end of the story was Gevanim, is a tragic ending. David went to the Gevanim and said, okay guys, we got to sort of make up for what we did wrong. What do you want us to do? I'll write you a big fat check. What do you think the Gevanim said? We want you to kill 7 of Shaul's sons. Right? And David said, that's so harsh, I'll give you money. No, we want you to kill 7 of Shaul's sons, and that's what happened. God said, listen to them. How did they pick the sons? They took all Shaul's progeny and placed them in front of the Oren, which the one the Oren decided to kill, those are the ones that got killed, and that's what it was. Very, very tragic. And that's why we don't marry Gevanim, right? If you get a shidduch, and someone says, hey, we got a nice Gevani girl. So the Gemara says, you're not allowed to marry Gevanim, right? You're not, obviously they became a ger. You're not allowed to marry Gevanim even if they become gerim. Why? Because David made a gzera because they were so cruel and wicked, right? Okay, that's the bottom line. But what do I see from this Gemara? What do I want to see from this Gemara? I see from this Gemara. Well,
why did they listen to them?
Because they had a taina, the Gevanim was wrong, and they were allowed to choose what they wanted to undo that wrong, and they decided kill 7 of Shaul's sons, and that's what happened. It's open in the Navi. It's right there. I didn't make this up. It's all in the Navi. Okay? Now, why am I bringing this Gemara? Because I want to show you. It says that Shaul was not eulogized properly. What do we see from here? We know the halacha is someone who commits suicide. What is the halacha? Someone commits suicide. You're not allowed to eulogize him. You don't sit the shiva for him. So from this Gemara, it clearly says that what Shaul did is not considered suicide. It's not called ma'abed asma midas. Because if it says that they were punished 30 years later because they didn't eulogize him properly, clearly Shaul is not called ma'abed asma midas. Okay? That's what it says here. Clearly, whatever the reasons are, it was okay for what Shaul did. Oh. The problem is we have a stira. Why do we have a stira? Because if we know the story, it says Shaul fell on his sword and killed himself. But the truth is that's not what happened. That's not the end of the story. That's the end of Shmuel Aleph. But at Shmuel Beis, David was not at this war. For whatever reason, David, for obvious reasons, was not at this war. And David was trying to find out information, what happened. In comes in a lad, and he says to the lad, "What? You know what happened?" And the lad said, "I know what happened." Yeah, what happened? I happened to be in Har Giboah. I don't know why this guy would happen to be in the middle of a war zone, but he said he would happen to be in Har Giboah, and I saw Shaul, and he was leaning on his spear, and he was effusing blood, and Shaul did not successfully commit suicide, meaning he was about to die, he was still alive, because he fell on the sword. And Shaul said to me, this is the lad talking, reporting to David, "Please come here, kill me, because anyway, achsani hashapat. Anyway, I'm at the end over here. I'm deathly ill. So just please, just kill me." And the lad said, I killed him. And he said to David, I took off his crown and his special wreath that he wore around his arm, and here it is. That's the story. So it actually, at the end, Shaul did not commit suicide to the fullest. At the end, some random guy killed him and finished him off. So you would think that I would think, and you would think, that this Nar was like a nice guy, whatever. I don't want to say a hero, but he brought back the crown, he brought back the wreath. And the David said to the Nar, well, who are you exactly? So he says, Ben ish ger Amaleki Anochi. I'm a ger Amaleki. But David said, you're ger Amaleki? How are you not afraid to kill Shaul? Vayikra David, and David said to one of his henchmen, kill him. And that was the end of the lad who killed Shaul, right? It'd be the first time. It sounds like, what? But that's what David did. David said, how did you dare kill Shaul? He was a ger Amaleki. Seemingly, he was a ger, a Jewish guy, who originally originated from Amalek. There were a lot of, if you look at Gemara and Yevamos, there were a lot of gerim in the times of David and Shaul and Shlomo. Okay, wait a minute. In this story, what does it say? Mr. Ger Amaleki was wrong, right? David couldn't kill for no reason. Could David kill for no reason? No, obviously David could kill him. Obviously David felt, obviously the Ger Amaleki was guilty for what he did. He was not allowed to kill Shaul, even though Shaul told him. So you have a stira. This story says that to kill Shaul was wrong. Black and white. The guy who did it got killed.
What would be the alternative?
No, why should he do this? Let him die naturally. Why did the Ger Amaleki killed Shaul? He was dying, but he wasn't dead yet. So the Ger Amaleki finished him off. So that's the question. That's why you learn the Chaim Berlin. Right, that's the question. That's the stira. On one hand, we have the Gemara in Yevamos that says, it's terrible that Shaul wasn't eulogized, meaning Shaul did nothing wrong. He's not considered committed suicide. And over here we're saying that Mr. Ger Amaleki, who basically did the suicide for David, for Shaul, he did it for him, basically, he's Chai Misa.
Why is it suicide?
It's not. It's mercy killing. But if Shaul, if you say it's okay for Shaul told him to do it, so seemingly from this Gemara, it seems that what Shaul did was fine. He was allowed to commit suicide, and that's why he was allowed to be eulogized.
But I'm gonna say he's a king,
and whatever the reasons are. But you see, it's okay because
only for him.
Wait a minute. Let's get the question. Let's just get the answer. The question is, here it says it's okay. We had to eulogize Shaul, and over here it says openly that the Ger Amaleki was considered a murderer. Those things don't seem to go together, because if he's a murderer, that means Shaul basically committed suicide, and he doesn't deserve to be eulogized. That's the question. Okay, now, so Rabbi says, we're going to give 6 answers to this question. 6 answers, and then we'll work on one. One answer, 100%. Like Simcha said, Shaul was 1,000% wrong. Shaul was 1,000% wrong. Everything he did was wrong. It was wrong that he tried to kill himself. It was wrong that he told someone to kill him. But bottom line is, when you're under duress, you're not called the Ma'abed Atma L'dat. So the question, if Shaul was 1,000% wrong, and we know someone who commits suicide, we don't eulogize. So how do we eulogize him? We already said that last year, that anyone who does suicide under duress, even though it's asur, you still do eulogize him. But the Ger Amaleki is a murderer. That doesn't change. The Ger Amaleki is a murderer. That doesn't change. He's a murderer. He had no right to do it. And everything Shaul did was wrong. But that doesn't penalize him to the fact that you're not going to eulogize him. He's not the classic Ma'abed Apis Maidas. Now, this is not a great teretz because we don't want Shaul to be wrong. We're saying now Shaul was wrong.
Isn't it a decree on Melech?
Wait. No. A Melech can't go against the Torah, right? This is not the greatest answer because we're saying now Shaul is wrong. Oh. Another answer, a second answer is, which is, makes it a little bit better, but not 100% better. The Shulchan Aruch actually talks about Shaul. The Shulchan Aruch actually talks about Shaul. And the Shulchan Aruch says, you know what? Shaul was not Ma'abed Atzmo L'das. Why not? He was an onus. Now, what does onus mean? It was impossible for him to not kill himself. Now, we have to understand something. Onus is something a little bit quasi. Onus doesn't mean per se that it's permissible, but it means you're allowed to do it. How could it be? It means we can't expect you not to do it. So it's not classically mutter. You can't say it was mutter for Shaul, but he did nothing wrong. Because God understands it's impossible for Shaul not to have said to get himself killed. The torture would have been so great, you can't ask it. So really it is mutter. It is mutter because you couldn't help himself. Oh, if you learn that way, who's it mutter to? Who's the honest? Only Shaul. Shaul could say he was under such unbelievable stress and such fear. So you can't blame Shaul. He's allowed to kill himself for torture. But that doesn't give a license for someone else. The Ger Amaleki, he wasn't under stress. So honest is like a quasi thing. It's mutter, but it's mutter only for you because you're under stress. So everything is great. Did Shaul deserve to be eulogized? Yes. He did nothing wrong. But the guy who killed him did something wrong. Because he was not under stress. So what are you killing him for? You understand that? So here's a little bit quasi. The truth is, Shaul wasn't even wrong to telling him because he was under stress. But it was wrong for him to listen. So it's a little bit quasi. It comes out Shaul did nothing wrong. But
he has no choice to
but the
listen.
but the Ger Amaleki did something wrong.
So my question now with the king, if it's mutter for him to say because he's under stress is honest, so the guy has to listen.
That only gives him a heter. That only gives Shaul the heter. Because it's not really mutter. It's almost that he can't control himself. So can't control himself makes it that it's mutter for him. But that would not apply for anyone else. So even though Shaul told him, for him, it was also to kill. But Shaul falling on the sword is mutter. So that would be the way to answer it. Right? That's a long answer.
If we say the reason of the Nevuah also, because Shaul got the Nevuah, this guy
Yeah.
the Nevuah.
Choose to have this written down. Instead of having 7, I have really 10 truths. But yes, you're right. Maybe we'll get to that at the end of this year. I doubt it. Anyway, 3. It was totally mutter. This is the best term. Mutter for Shaul, mutter for the Ger Amaleki, mutter for everyone. Shaul did nothing wrong. Like, it was a nevuah that he was going to die anyway. Well, we said he was afraid that he was going to do Avodah Zarah, he'd be tortured for to do Avodah Zarah. Everyone was mutter to kill. Like that shita that says you're even allowed to kill your kids, that they shouldn't do Avodah Zarah. We don't pass that way. But let's say we're going to go now. It was totally mutter. No one did anything wrong. So wait a minute. So why in the world did David kill the Ger Amaleki? So Rabbi Yeshaya brings a medrash and says something fascinating. He says, you know who this Ger Amaleki was? It was Doeg Doimi. Remember Doeg, the guy who killed all the Kohanim in the beginning of this year? He says, somehow or other, he says, Yeshem hu Doeg Doimi. So, how in the world does a Ger Amaleki turn into Doeg Doimi? I have no idea. This I don't know. I tried to do a little research. How in the world can we say Ger Amaleki is Doiga Doimi? But that's what they're trying to say. So it comes like this. David did not kill the Ger Amaleki for anything he did now. He actually killed him for a sin that he did a long, long time ago. Because he killed hundreds and hundreds of Kahanim. So according to that teretz, of course we eulogize Shaul. Shaul did nothing wrong. No one did anything wrong. He was killed for a whole different reason. Now, what is not great with this teretz? That's not what the pasuk can say. That's all very wonderful. But David says to Doeg, how in the world were you not afraid to kill Shaul? I mean, that's not what the pasuk can say. So this is like a real stretch. Well, you can say some type of drasha to figure it all out. Okay. Verse number 4. It was totally mutter for Shaul to commit suicide. And it was totally mutter for the Ger Amaleki to kill him. Totally mutter. Everything was mutter. So why did David kill the Ger Amaleki? So the Medrash asks this question. The Medrash says something amazing. The Medrash said, Ki Yadal Case Ka, Melchama Hashem Amalek Midol Ador. That's the pasuk in Pasuk say God don't like Amalek. For Dor Lador, for all generations. And Medrash says, God grabbed onto the Kisei HaKavod and made a shvua. You are not allowed to accept Gerim from Amalek. No Gerim are allowed to be accepted from Amalek. And then it says, David, when he heard the Ger Amaleki said, I'm a Ger Amaleki, he remembered this. Nizke but David Bais Shah. David remembers that you're not allowed to accept the Ger Amaleki, and that's why he killed him. The simple reading of the Medrash is, that David killed him because he was Amalek. That's why he killed him. Shaul was 100% right. Everyone was 100% right. The arm bearer, everyone was right. The Ger Amaleki was right. Nothing wrong that he killed Shaul. So why are you killing Ger Amaleki? Because he's Amalek. He's Amalek. You got to kill Amalek. He's a Ger. He's not Amalek anymore. He's Jew. No. David remembered that it says you're not allowed to accept a Ger from Amalek. So he wasn't a Ger. He wasn't Jewish. He was just plain old Amalek. Right? Okay, that's also not a great teretz because that's not what the pasuk says. The pasuk doesn't say, okay, Yeshikoyach for killing Shaul, but you're Amalek, so you got to go. No, it says black and white. Why did he kill the Ger Amalek? Because he killed Shaul, right? So this works out great that Shaul did nothing wrong, but it doesn't fit so well in Psukim. In a couple of minutes, we're going to synthesize the Psukim with this pshat. Okay. That's a good question. He's asking this famous Gemara that the Bnei Banim of Haman are learning in Bnei Brak. So, that's a good question. The truth is, there is no Gemara that says you cannot accept Gerim for Amalek. It's only Midrashim. But let's leave that. Let's take this at face value. So we have so far 4 terutzim. One is, it was wrong, Shaul was wrong, and the Ger Amalek deserved to get killed, but it's not called Ma'abed Asmel Adas. That much is not, so he deserves to be eulogized. 2, Shaul was right, because he was an Anus, but the Amaleki was wrong, because he was not an Anus, he was under us. 3, everyone was right. You know why he killed the Amaleki? Because he wasn't Amaleki, he was Doiga Doimi. 4, he was actually not a Ger, just Amalek, because he can't become a Ger. So David killed him because he's Amalek. I think the best teretz is, my teretz would have been, Shaul was right to kill himself. No, that was okay. But Shaul was going to die anyway in a couple of minutes. So all the heter for Shaul was he was afraid to get caught alive by the Philistines, right? But what happened here? David was basically dead. It was a question, a couple of minutes. So there was no reason for the Ger Amaleki to listen to Shaul to kill him quicker. Shaul was allowed to kill himself. That's true. Because he's going to get caught by the Philistines. But that wasn't going to happen anymore. So there was a 10-minute window that Shaul could have still lived. So basically, the Ger Amaleki took away 10 minutes of his life for no reason. That's my personal terror. So therefore, in Yavamis, he deserves to be eulogized because he did nothing wrong. But according to this, still Shaul did something a teeny bit wrong that he told him to do. But that already you can hate. He still did something, Shaul did something teeny bit wrong. But certainly, he's not, Shaul trying to kill himself wasn't wrong. Well, the truth is, there's a sixth terrace that the Aruch HaShulchan answers. And the Aruch HaShulchan says something amazing. Six. This is number 6. Shaul was wrong. Shaul was 100% wrong. And if he would have been successful of committing suicide, they wouldn't have eulogized him. It just worked out at the end of the day. He didn't commit suicide because someone else killed him at the last minute. That's the Aruch HaShulchan says
It's on the last minute.
Shaul was wrong. And if he would have been successful, they would not have eulogized him. But it just came out who actually killed Shaul? The Ger Amaleki. So he didn't commit suicide.
He was in distress. If he was successful,
I'm giving you all the options here.
Yeah.
The best option I like, the best option is to say, is what we got, is to say that Shaul was 1,000% right and only the Ger Amaleki was wrong. That's the best option. This is the best option. I just want to give you all the options. What it is to figure out this Gemara in Yavamis with the story of the Ger Amaleki. Now, I want to concentrate on one option. We're going to go to the option that the Ger Amaleki was wrong. He was a murderer. Shaul may have had his attempt, but he was a murderer. But there's a problem. There's a problem. How do we know he's a murderer? Who said he was a murderer? He himself. We are learning in the morning that you don't say a dois bal din on an onish. You can't walk into court and say, Bezdin, please kill me. Why? I killed 1,000 people. Bezdin gives it, no, we'll give you a li on the Torah. Bezdin, please kill me. Please give me malchus. Why? I've been eating chazer. No. The little bit we know, we don't say a dois bal din to give a punishment. There's no such thing. Right?
You do when you
So-
something also, right?
But not to get a punishment, not to get a bodily punishment.
If he eats
So-
it, if he says this is...
not believe
That's
to give you
not,
some
no,
punishment.
never.
If he says it's chaza and then he eats it, we don't give him malchus?
Maybe. After certain, maybe. That's a complicated thing. Probably not. That's a whole complicated thing. But that's for sure. You can't come into court and say, I ate chazer. You can't come into court and say, I'm a murderer, please kill me. So, even we say the Ger Amaleki did something terrible. But how do you believe him? You can't believe him based on his own testimony. Oh. So there are 2 possible ways to answer this. Pay attention. The Rambam himself asked this question. You didn't know the Rambam knew Navi, did you? The Rambam himself asked this question. And the Rambam says, pay attention. There's a cause of who? She'ein ma'misim bezin, v'loi malkan sa'adam, but dois piv. You can never go to Bezdin and say, kill me. I killed 1,000 people. Or give malchus. Ela pishnei edim. Aye, zeh shaharag Yeshua Ochan, but David leger Amaleki. So how did David kill the Ger Amaleki? But dois PM. Hayroi shah haisa. I did malchus haya. Really, David was not allowed to kill him. It was because of the urgency of the time. Doesn't say why it was so urgent. Or did malchus, because bottom line is Shaul was a king, and David was a king, and David felt that in this case, the Ger deserves to die even on his own admission. Meaning, I want to make things clear here. The Rambam is not asking our question we asked before. The Ger Amaleki did nothing wrong. That's not the question.
Don't believe him.
That's not the question. The Rambam is taking for sure the Ger Amaleki is a murderer. That's not his issue. The Rambam's issue is, but how do you know he's a murderer? Based on his own ages. So we shouldn't believe him. And that the Rambam says, well, here David felt he had the power of Malchus to sort of forego the usual rules. Right? Right? Okay. Now, that's one answer of the Rambam. I mean, the Rambam is taking on the Ger Amaleki was wrong. And we just established the facts. We will do it based on his ages. Yes, we'll see about this soon. So what? David killed him. David killed him. Oh.
Not David.
But there's another answer. And Rabbi said this is what I wanted to get to today. There's another answer. According to some Rishonim, Ger Amaleki, and we'll put it all in. Ger Amaleki did not mean that he was a Jewish Ger who was from Amalek. Some Rishonim learned Ger Amaleki means he was a person who lived in the land of Amalek. He was actually an American or something who happened to live in the lands of Amalek. He wasn't even Amaleki, according to some Rishonim. Why does that make things better? I'll tell you why. Because it comes out he's a goy. He's a goy. This Ger Amaleki was actually not Jewish.
So kill him.
All right? I know he said differently. I'm giving you all the different options. So if he's not Jewish, do we say Hadois Baldin by a goy? We know by a Jew who walks into court and says, I'm Chayiv Misa, I was Mechal Shabbos, I killed 20 people. We know there's no Hadois Baldin. What about a guy who comes to court and says, I was Oived Avodah Zarah or I killed someone? Is there Hadois Baldin by a goy? That's the question. Oh. Meaning, the Rambam probably learned the Ger Amaleki was a Jew. He was a Jew. So he had to come up with his answer. But if you learn that Ger Amaleki was a goy, is it possible to say this sin that we don't say Hadois Baldin Kameid dummy, we don't say Hadois Baldin for a bodily punishment, for a capital punishment, is that by a goy? The truth is, the Malbim and the Chinuch and the Ohr Somayach all say there is no, a goy could walk into court and incriminate himself. And if a guy walks into court and says, I did something wrong, the Beis Din will act upon it. So if you answer our question, yes, the Ger Amaleki Hadois Baldin, it was on his own admission. But he's a guy. Now, how do we know this? So the Chinuch says it openly. That's a Rishon. The Minchas Chinuch says, why is this so? Why is this so? The Minchas Chinuch says like this. We know that there are certain dinim by a goy, that there are certain leniencies by a goy. A goy is enough, one aid, you only need one aid, you only need one dayan, and even a relative can be an aid. Those are open Gemaras. That a goy doesn't have all the restrictions that we have by a Jew. So somebody stops in the street and says, why can't you be Hadois Baldin? Why can't a Jewish guy walk into court and say, I was Mechal Shabbos, kill me? The answer is, because he's related to himself. Usually related to yourself, right? So the reason why a Jew can't be Hadois Baldin is because he's a Korah to himself. But if we say that a guy doesn't have that limitation, meaning in the Goyish courts, a brother could testify against another brother. So the guy can go into court and say, listen, I know I'm related to myself, but I'm telling you that I killed someone. Okay, you only one aid. So what? A guy, by the law, by Goyim are, one aid is enough, and even a car is okay. So that's why the Minchas Chinuch says that if a guy comes to the court and is Hadois Baldin and admits, no problem. Oh. Now, the Ohr Somayach brings a medrash that seems to say the same thing, because the medrash says like this: by a guy, you can have 8 echad, you can have 9 echad. You don't need a throw, doesn't have to be pre-warned. And then he says, and a guy doesn't need any eidim. You just said a minute ago you need 8 echad, dying echad. How can you say you don't need any eidim? What does that mean? So the Ohr Somayach says that's what it means. You don't need any eidim. It means that you could just come yourself. The guy who did the avera could just come to court himself and admit on his own admission, and you act upon it. Oh. The truth is, this is an open Rashi in Pesachim. Why did I open Rashi in Pesachim? Because there's a famous story in the Gemara Pesachim. We know a guy is not allowed to eat a carbon Pesach. One time, there was a guy who went over to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, and he was making fun of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. He was sort of trying to rile him up, and the guy said to Yehuda ben Beseira, "You know I'm a guy." Yehuda ben Beseira says, "Yeah, I know you're a guy." He said, "You know, I go every single year and go to Yerushalayim and have a big, fat carbon Pesach steak. I pull the wool over you guys. Every year, the guy says, I put on my stroimel, I put on my payas, and I go there, and I get myself a big carbon Pesach." So Yehuda ben says, "Really? They know that you're a guy." The guy says, "No, they don't know." Yehuda ben says, "Did they give you from the tail? Did they give you from the tail?" And the guy said, "No, they never gave me from the tail." Next time you go to Yerushalayim, you tell them to give you the tail. Let's see if they give it to you. Let's see if we can fool them. So he goes up to Yerushalayim, and the guy dressed up in the Hasidic outfit says, "Hey, remember me from last year? Yeah, we remember you. What's going on? Yeah, I just finished Baba Kama. Everything's great. Oh, wonderful. Okay, I want you to get from the tail." Now the tail, if you know, is burned on the Mizbeach. And they said, "You want from the tail? Why do you want from the tail?" Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira said, "You got to give me from the tail." So right away, the people in Yerushalayim figured out Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira is sending them a message.
Yeah.
They did their due diligence. They found out he was a guy, and they killed him. A lot of people died this year. They killed him. So why did they kill him? Because he's a gosler. He stole. That's clear like day. It's very simple why they killed him. He's a stealer. You're not allowed to have a guy is not allowed to eat carbon Pesach. So he stole, basically. He's eating it illegally. Even if he paid for it, it makes no difference. It's illegal. Oh. But Rashi asked the question. Look at Rashi here. Rashi says, look at Rashi. Rashi says, why did Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira kill him? Rashi said, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira was an old man. He couldn't kill him. What do you think from Rashi? That Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira should have killed him. Why should Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira kill him? There were no Eidim. It was just the guy telling Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira the story. What do you see from here? That if a guy says he's Chayiv Misa, Hadois Baldin, you do say by a guy. So it's not a chinuch, it's an open Rashi that we do, even though a Jew says, I'm Chayiv Misa, we don't listen to you. But by a guy, we do listen. Now, to end this off, the Ohr Somayach says, he wants to answer the Medrash. The Medrash says, David HaMelech remembered when he was a Ger Amalek, when the guy said he was a Ger Amaleki, what did David HaMelech say? David HaMelech said, oh, I remember that we're not allowed to accept Ger from Amalekim. So what's the simple reading of the Medrash? So that's why David killed him, because nothing to do with killing Shaul. He killed him because he was an Amalek. But that's not what the Pasuk says. The Pasuk says he killed the Ger because he killed Shaul. Oh. But he put everything together and it works out beautifully. David said like this. First, this guy presented himself as a Jew. I'm a Ger Amalek. He said the story. What's the story? I killed Shaul. David says, oh, I can't kill you. Hadois Baldin. You are a Jew. We don't kill a Jew based on his own testimony. Then David remembered, oh, wait a minute, you're not really a Jew. Because the Medrash says you can't accept an Amalek to be a Ger. So it really comes out that he was not a Jew. He was a guy. Now, but he couldn't kill him because he was a Amalek, because the Rambam paskins that any Amalek that wants to be a good guy, who wants to do tshuva and wants to keep 7 mitzvahs, you don't kill that type of Amaleki. More so, like some mentioned here, David really wasn't really a full king yet. The din is, according to many Rishonim, you only kill Amalek if you have a full-fledged king with a full community behind him. We know that David HaMelech was not king until 3 years later. For the first 3 years, Shaul's son took over. Who was Shaul's son? Ishbosheth, right? Ishbosheth took over after Shaul died. David only had a small group. So let's go through it. Let's go through it. The Ger Amaleki comes in. I killed Shaul. Says David HaMelech, well, I ain't gonna do nothing to you. Why not? Because you're a Jew, and Jew can't incriminate themselves. Then David remembered, wait a minute, you're not a Jew, you're an Amaleki. Why are you Amaleki? Because the Medrash says you don't accept Amaleki from Ger. But he didn't kill him because he's Amalek. A, the guy was trying to be a good guy. He clearly was trying to be a good guy. B, it wasn't the time yet to kill Amalek because David wasn't the king, full king. But he did kill him because now that we found that he's a guy, you could kill him based on his own testimony. So you need the Medrash and the Psukim dovetail. You need the Medrash complements the Pasuk, and the Pasuk complements the Medrash. This is the pshat of the Ohr Somayach. So what do we have here? Rabbi, how long is it going for already? We got to stop here. I have a lot more to say here.
Next week.
A lot more, but we're going to stop here. Let's reiterate. Let's reiterate for 2 minutes, because there are so many different options here. The problem was, one Gemara says Shaul wasn't eulogized. Seemingly, what Shaul did was mutter, that he killed himself, and he tried to get himself killed. Another Gemara, the Pasuk says openly, the Ger Amaleki was chayiv misa because he killed Shaul. So we try to figure this out. We try to figure out these moving pieces, and we saw all different types of reasons why the Ger Amaleki should be killed. Some say a totally different reason. He was doing. Nothing to do with anything. He was doing. Some say he was wrong and Shaul was wrong. We said some say he was wrong but Shaul was right. Right? Some say because he was a Ger Amaleki. So he killed him because nothing to do with what he did, because he was Amalek. Right? But then we developed it and said it could be because they have the other problem of how did David know that he was saying the truth. The Rambam says David had that power, Haroy Shah. So according to Rambam, he was probably Jewish. But now he had a whole stick of Torah to get it that he's not Jewish. And since he's not Jewish, you could kill him based him on his own incrimination. And the reason why he's not Jewish is because Amalek cannot be a ger. Okay? So, bottom line is, I just want to end off, after everything is said and done, maybe we'll continue this next week, I don't think so, because I wanted to talk about, there are a lot of Gemaras that talk about suicide. Famous Gemaras about Tanoim, Amoraim that did suicide, and the question is, what was the reason they did it? I want to end off again. Halacha l'maisa. Suicide is never mutter for any reason. Even torture, paskin out. You paskin for any reason. Definitely, someone who's terminally ill and he's suffering, the Torah Yisrael asks this question. Hey, if you hold you can kill because you're under torture, the Torah Yisrael says emphatically, terminally ill, no matter how much pain you're in, is not the same thing like being tortured. It's just not the same. One is from God, one is from person, one is more degradation, one is less, right? Now, so that's the point. The truth is, if you open a Shulchan Aruch is open. It's a Mishnah in Shabbos. Someone who is about to die, you're not allowed to touch him. You're not allowed to close his eyes. You're not allowed to move his pillow. You can't do anything. And if you do it, you're called a murderer. That's the Mishnah in Shabbos. Open halacha. A goyses you don't touch. So what are you going to say? No, they're talking where he didn't tell you to do it. But if he told you to do it, you can do it. No. It doesn't, in the Shulchan Aruch, it doesn't say one difference. He told you, when the goyses told you, the goyses didn't tell you, you're not allowed to move him, no matter what. Even moving, you're not allowed to do it. So clearly we see, it doesn't make a difference if he told you to do it, if he didn't tell you to do it. It doesn't make a difference. You can't move it. Right. Last but not least, one more famous suicide case is Shimshon. Shimshon HaGibor. So everyone there also tries to figure out how did he allow to commit suicide. He went in, pulled down the pillars, the roof fell on him. But there, I think the question does not start. The question does not start. That was an act of war. Shimshon was in the middle of a war, either a personal war, or there was a war between the Philistines and the Jews. If you can do a suicide mission in the middle of war, no one's going to say you shouldn't do it. War has all different types of rules. Let's say you have a soldier. A soldier says he's going to go through a suicide mission to deflect the enemy, whatever the reasons are. He'll run in the front line. He'll for sure get killed. He'll save a lot of people, or there'll be something strategically gained by it. Or you say, oh, suicide. No. When it comes to war, it's a whole different ballgame. The war, there's no concept. If you say, oh, Pekuach Nefesh is doiche all mitzvahs. So how can it be Mechemet mitzvah? How can I have a mitzvah to go to war? Pekuach Nefesh. Right? Obviously, war, when we say there's a mitzvah for war, intuitive, intrinsically, it's understood people are going to die. And the same thing about suicide. So Shimshon HaGibor, you can't ask him, how did he do suicide? You can ask whether, you can make a difference, was his calculation right? Maybe it wasn't the right calculation. Maybe he should have stayed alive, and then he could have killed more later on. That's a different question. But there's no question that there was no suicide there, because there was an act of war. Right? I think that would be a pretty simple distinction. Okay, everybody side. We'll stop over here. I doubt we'll continue next week, even though I have another 40 minutes. But I think we've done enough with suicide. Okay, everybody side.